Welcome everyone, December 30th, 2023. This is Jeff at Astroscoop, and this is live stream number 2. So last week on the 23rd was my very first live stream, and I'm kind of getting back into this. I haven't done anything that's more spontaneous or more live or public in a long time. So this is a good push for me to try different things out and see where to go with it. So on tonight's live stream, we're going to talk about a whole variety of things. I'm going to plan to talk for an hour, as long as my voice holds up. I did fall this weekend. I took a tumble on my steps, and I hurt my foot and my leg. And yes, for those astrologers, for those of you that do astrology and you look at Mars for accidents, there was something with my Mars and the transiting Mars. So it always works, but I'm okay and just a little banged up. But all is good. I'm grateful that it wasn't worse. And to all of you out there, if any of you are sick or hurt or disabled or anything, I only wish you well, because there's all sorts of levels. And we need to end this year and go into the new year with gratitude. Gratitude is it. It's absolutely the way to go. So before we start getting into this crazy list here I have here, I want to read a comment. I did a Sagittarius Capricorn cusp video. The Sag Cap cusp runs from December 19th to right around the 25th or 26th. So if you're born that week, you're either a Sag or a Cap, and then you're on the cusp with the other sign. So user MO2IU6TS6M, if you hear this, this is for you. He or she said, I've had experience with psychic traits since I was a child, and I still go through it today. I woke up, I had a dream my uncle called me, and I did not want to answer the phone. I heard 3 knocks, a piano, and my phone ring. I decided to get up because everything around that time frame was still 8 o'clock. Called my uncle back. I asked him, was everything okay? Because I woke up from a dream about someone close to me being hurt, and he asked me if I was sitting down and I was pregnant with my twins. He says my brother was in the hospital from getting hit by a car. I end up in the hospital. Me and my brother was in the hospital for a month and a half. I have multiple experience on premonition things that happened before, and I see it, and this one means deliver a message second and get them before it happens. Whoa, this is heavy. And I mentioned, thank you so much for the comment. And please, if you ever see this live stream, if you could please comment that I mentioned your comment, I would really appreciate it. I mentioned on the Sag Capricorn cusp, it's the cusp of prophecy. And people can often combine sensation from Capricorn and intuition from Sag to create a sort of a visionary approach to the future. And whether you believe in that or not, obviously this person does, it can happen. And you really have to trust your dreams and the messages that are around you. Messages come in all sorts of forms from us. And again, it's your perception and what you believe in or what you adhere to. But if you're open to messages, especially with dreams, all kinds of things can come to you and you can put the puzzle pieces together. So thank you so much for that comment. So we are in Capricorn time. Tonight, or tomorrow night, I'm sorry, is the New Year's Eve, and then we go into 2024. So we're now in true Capricorn period. So all of you Capricorns are having a birthday between now and right around January 19th or 20th, which will then be the Capricorn Aquarius cusp. So Astroscoop, I combine an intuitive and broad approach to astrology. Now, astrologers use all sorts of different techniques. None of them are right or wrong. If you see astrologers criticizing other astrologers or even criticizing me, that's fine. Everyone is different, and you have to go with people that you feel comfortable with. But people use all sorts of different techniques. People use tropical astrology. People use sidereal astrology, Vedic astrology, Buddhist astrology, Indian astrology, Chinese astrology. So they're all valid if you're using it in a positive way. And I don't mean just your intent, but actually positive, to sort of like a doctor, to do no harm sort of thing. So my approach is intuitive and a broad approach. I look at the big picture for natal charts. I look at the big picture for transits. This is today's chart, or tonight's chart, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I look at the broad picture, and I look at the broad strokes to gain information. And I wouldn't say predict per se, but gain information from the past, the present, and what might be coming in the future, and putting that together, sort of thing. And so again, all different branches of astrology are valid. People use different branches. And Capricorn is the goat. It's the goat climbing. It's the sea goat or sea fish. And there's this sense of climbing with Capricorn. It's both literal and metaphorical. And Saturn is the timekeeper. So the key to understanding Capricorn is timekeeping. It's interesting. When I was getting ready for this live stream, I was practicing. About 10 minutes ago, I was practicing to see how the camera looked and how the lights looked. And I'm watching the time. When it got to 7:58, I said, okay, I have 2 minutes to go. Then when it hit 7:59, it felt like an eternity waiting for that 1 minute to switch, because I was staring at it in two different places. So it's interesting that our perception of time, and that changes as you get older. You'll really notice that as you get older, your perception of time changes, especially if you're in your teens, 20s, even 30s. You get older, the whole arc of your day and week and month really just, it's hard to explain. It just changes. So Saturn is the timekeeper. So that's really what Capricorn teaches us. Capricorn, the sign of the goat, teaches us all about time and timing. I believe the word was kairos, Kairos, a sense of timing and maneuverability, and doing things at the right moment. And the beautiful thing about Capricorn is positive, grounded Capricorn energy. And this goes for the sun in Capricorn, or any planet, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, especially Capricorn rising, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. We're going to talk about Capricorn rising and some of the transits for 2024 and what you can expect. So stay tuned for that. But Capricorn is grounded and positive. Capricorn can completely, for the most part, completely rely on its course. When Capricorn sets its course in motion, it is a sure-footed, reliable course. Now, obviously, because there's not much deviation from that, or Capricorns don't like to deviate, it needs to be positive and productive, sort of thing. I'm seeing people come into the chat. Thank you. Hi, Laura. Hi, Carolyn. Good evening. We're just getting into Capricorn right now, because we're in Capricorn right now till right around January 19th. Laura says her birthday is January 10th. So you are a true Capricorn person. So January 10th, if you look at the degrees, you would be somewhere around 20 degrees of Capricorn. To some astrologers, the degrees don't matter. But for you, you're almost a later Capricorn, but you're right, definitely right in the middle. So what I was saying, I'm not sure if you heard that, ladies heard that, but Saturn is the timekeeper. So you'll hear astrologers talk about Saturn all the time, men and women all over the world. Saturn. It's an amazing thing. And for a Capricorn planet, for someone that is a Capricorn, or a moon in Capricorn, or Capricorn rising, the big three, especially, Capricorn is so heavy. It's so heavy. But what's the key to it? it gets better with age. That's where the timekeeping comes into play. So any Capricorn planet works with time. Now, that's kind of contingent upon that you work your lessons. So if you have lessons, you know, Capricorn, I don't have any Capricorn in my chart at all. So I don't know what it's like to be strongly Capricorn with my planets. But I've known a lot of people with Capricorn planets, Sun, Moon, risings, a lot of Venus Capricorns, and even Mars. And Capricorn is to me, it's the most serious sign, even more than Scorpio. Capricorn takes the cake for me, my perception of the seriousness. Now, that doesn't mean it's negative. I'm not saying it's negative, but to me, it's amazing how correct, people often talk about the sign of Virgo as being perfectionistic, and Virgos like things just so, but Capricorn takes the cake in wanting things just so. Capricorns have a methodical nature to them. And the sign of Capricorn, the sea goat climbing, right? That short-footed sea goat climbing. Capricorns are so methodical. So it's very important for Capricorn people or Capricorn planets to do things that are light. Just the opposite, right? The antithesis of heavy. So there's always something in your life, your work, your career, your family, if you're into a club or an organization or a hobby, that Capricorn energy, there's no way you're not going to use that in a heavy way. You're going to influence people. You're going to inspire people. You're going to organize. You're going to make lists. It's just, there's no way. There's no stopping Capricorn. Let's put it that way. So the Capricorn, however you choose to use it, you want to make sure that you do things that are just light and give yourself permission to be, silly or just have a little fun. It doesn't mean foolish. Capricorn does not like foolish, right? Capricorn does not like to play the fool, especially Sun and Moon in Capricorn. And here's an interesting thing for those of you that practice astrology or you're into astrology. You've had your natal chart read or looked at. You've looked at the wheel. The Sun in Capricorn is the life force. So that's your sun sign, like going back to the 60s and 70s, right? And people would say, "Hey, baby, what's your sun sign?" I know both my parents were very into sun sign astrology. But Sun in Capricorn is the ego, life force, and identity of a strong earth sign. And it's cardinal. So that really is what sets it apart from Taurus and Virgo, the other earth signs, is the cardinality. I said a few minutes ago, you can't stop Capricorn. So when the goat's climbing, the goat is going to climb, and it's going to do it in a systematic, step-by-step way. It doesn't matter if it's 1 mile per hour or 100, but it's going to move. So that cardinal nature, cardinal comes from Latin cardinalis, which is principal, chief, or essential. So at the your local organizations and communities, often I'll bet if you find a director or a supervisor or a planner, a lot of those people you're going to see in their big three are probably going to have strong major Capricorn there. They could even have Capricorn on the 10th house, which is public and career. You could even have Capricorn on the midheaven. But Capricorn would be there somewhere. So again, principal, chief, and essential. That's kind of what Capricorn's about. And it's interesting when I talk to people or I give readings to people that have Capricorn, since I don't have it, and I may have had it in a personal past life, if you believe in that. I may have had it. I probably did. Is that the Capricorn energy is reserved. And this is what a lot of people mistake about the Capricorn energy. And I happen to see it because I take the time to see it with people with Capricorn. So in other words, Capricorn is a patient sign. So if I want to connect with them and I want to build rapport, I have to be patient, right? So if I were to coach a Capricorn planet, they would expect me to use good sense and to be patient, not impulsive like Aries, or not too flippant like Gemini, or too light, sort of thing. So it's sort of like mirroring what Capricorn is with the patience. So that's Capricorn. I mean, it's just an amazing, strong earth sign. The Greek myth um, nods to the gods Pan and Ganymede. I don't know if I'm saying those correctly. And those are industrious gods in the Greek times. So those are the main god energy with Capricorn. And the interesting thing about Capricorn as well is Capricorn is so reserved, right? But underneath that reserve is a lot of sexual energy. These gods were very sexually, all the gods, goddesses obviously were very sexually active. but that specific god energy in Greek mythology, those scenarios where there was just so much sexual and lust impetus with those gods. So that's something that Capricorn has a lot underneath. So you might see Capricorn as stodgy or quiet, but look out underneath. It's there. It's definitely there. And the emotion, the sensitivity is there for Capricorn as well. Again, buried pretty deep. So there's a lot of people, if you have a Capricorn planet, there's a lot of people in your life that won't take the time, and they'll miss out. They'll miss out on the goodness that you have. They'll miss out on the salt of the earth qualities that you have because they didn't take the time and have the patience to get to know you, right? Because maybe it took you a year or two, maybe it takes 5 years, sort of thing. And I've known Capricorn risings to be like that. Capricorn rising people, even with a different sun sign, Capricorn risings are hard shell to crack, and that's their initial mask. It takes a while to get through there. So again, it's all a blend. It depends on other areas in your chart, but it takes a while with Capricorn. And we have the constellation of Capricorn is also one of permanence. So I was reading an astrology blog today, and I can't remember the woman's name, but she was saying how the constellation of Capricorn is always in the sky throughout the whole zodiac cycle. So there's permanence to Capricorn. So that's why it's so important for Capricorns to do positive things. If you set your mind to a life of crime, you would probably be a very good criminal, but obviously that wouldn't be a good path to go down. So you want to do things that are positive, and again, balance it out with something light. And this is really key for Capricorn people. So Jupiter has now gone direct into Taurus. So you'll see it's all over Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube. Jupiter has now gone direct into Taurus, and it's in an early degree of Taurus, which means early Capricorn people, like that are born on the Sag Capricorn cusp, already got a trine. Jupiter and Taurus trines Capricorn, so they already got a trine to their sun. But you will also get that if you have a later degree of Capricorn, like born on the 10th, if you're 20 degrees, or if you're 15, 20, 25 degrees closer to 30 degrees of the sign, this Jupiter will move, Jupiter and Taurus will move, and it will trine that. And that's really nice. Jupiter's abundance, and that's going to trine that, and that will help out. That will help out smooth things out a little bit for your Capricorn energy. And for a Capricorn rising person, so if we're using the 12 houses, so Capricorn rising would be on the first house. So it'd be like this. So here you go. So this is tonight's chart, which is Leo rising. So if there was a baby born right now, he or she would have Leo rising. But on the first house, if someone has Capricorn rising, you would go Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. It would be in their 5th house of enhancing love life, children, and sun activities, because it's the Leo house. So any kind of performance art. And so it would give the Capricorn planet, the Capricorn rising planet, which is Saturn, that's the ruler, it would give it a chance at more fun. And it would be directly affected by Jupiter, abundance, in Taurus, which is sensual, good food, good wine, good times, financial, spending money, or saving money. And so it would depend on how you use it. But for Capricorn risings, it's going to be in your 5th house, which is really, can be really, really good. That can expand relationships with your children, possibly even grandchildren as well. And even if you work for anything to do with children, like big brother, big sister, or you coach, basketball or sports or anything like that, if someone has Capricorn rising, that's going to really, really help. That's a really awesome 5th house thing for Capricorns. So here's something I want to talk about. You probably can't see this. I apologize for this messy list, and I'm going to try in the future possibly to use a streaming where I can show you the screen and you can also see myself. So I'm trying to figure out different streaming platforms for the future. So bear with me, but I appreciate it. But there's so many music celebrities. I looked up Jupiter and Taurus, which is the current transit, which in the chart is right here. That's Jupiter and Taurus. And you're going to see all the astrologers this week and this month, probably next season or so, constantly talking about Jupiter and Taurus and about the abundance and how Taurus is going to affect Jupiter in an earthy and sensual way, which is good for Capricorn, but in a positive way. So I looked up all these music celebs that have a natal Jupiter in Taurus. And it's unbelievable how many singers. So Jupiter and Taurus, Jupiter is expansion. Taurus is a money sign, but it's also a sign of harmony and music. And Taurus rules the throat. So Jupiter and Taurus can expand the throat or the whole throat shoulder region. Most astrologers agree with that. Now, in natal astrology, when astrologers are looking for like a nice speaking voice or a good singing voice, you almost always look to Mercury, which is the planet of communication, because that's expression. But there's a lot of factors in the chart. But I'm wondering, and I don't think this ever dawned on me before, with the thousands of charts that I've looked up and created, but Jupiter and Taurus, Jupiter is expansion and amplification through the body, because Taurus represents the body. Taurus is an earth sign, it's physical, and it happens to rule the vocal cords. And Taurus people tend to have nice speaking voices and also have a penchant for music and singing. So take a look at this list. I don't know if you can see them, but this list is unbelievable. Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. He has born in 1964. Another 1964 birthday, Chris Cornell, the late Chris Cornell from the grunge scene in Seattle. Rest in peace. He had Jupiter and Taurus. Ella Fitzgerald from 1917, 14 degrees Jupiter Taurus. These are all later Taurus degrees as well. Frank Zappa, one of the most innovative rock avant-garde, weird guy, but one of the most innovative and substantial with music. That's another thing with Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is the father of the gods. Jupiter is an enormous planet, and Jupiter amplifies, magnifies, and sort of puts a firecracker into the mechanism of anything that it touches. So when it's in Taurus, which it is in now, and it's direct, it's so substantial. Taurus is such a thick, sturdy, substantial sign. It's going to go into Gemini in 2024. That will change the whole vibe of Jupiter up completely, because Gemini is a mutable sign. It's more changeable, it's more restless, and it's an air sign. So it's completely different. Tom Jones from 1940, the singer. Dean Martin, the singer, the classic Rat Pack. David Hasselhoff, 1952. Suge Knight from 1965. He's had a lot of scandal in the hip hop and rap world, but he also made a lot of money through music. 29 degrees of Taurus. Shaka Khan from 1953, I Feel for You. She sang Prince's, a lot of Prince's songs, the late Prince. Amazing. And I believe that Taurus, her Jupiter Taurus, was opposing. She has major Scorpio in her chart. So when she says I feel for you, she certainly does. Nancy Sinatra from 1940. So also what you can see here is you can see patterns of the years of when Jupiter was in Taurus, obviously. And Jupiter takes roughly 12 years to go through the signs. There's 12 signs. It's about once a year, roughly. David Byrne from the Talking Heads, one of the most innovative, classic alternative people, 1952, along with David Hasselhoff. Early Taurus, Neil Diamond from 1941, 6 degrees of Taurus. Michael Bolton from Connecticut, 1953. I've actually met Michael Bolton before on 2 occasions. And he has the 15-degree Taurus, and it's also square his moon in Leo, which is great for performing, but I'm sure in his personal life, that has got to be tough. And he's had to deal with some kind of excesses. Jupiter is always excess, usually. Jupiter takes willpower and it takes restraint. Wherever Jupiter is in your chart or a transit, whoever's wielding or holding the power of Jupiter, it takes restraint not to go crazy. Because probably more than any other planet, Jupiter is associated with Sagittarius, which we just came out of. And Sagittarius is a very freewheeling fire sign that just goes for it. So, that kind of thing is substantial, but I'm sure he had to deal with some excesses. Pat Benatar, the operatic and also pop rock singer, songstress from 1953, very powerful voice. Stuart Copeland from the Police, 1952, an amazing drummer. And Taurus's rhythm and earthiness and grounding, and singing and drumming. To me, that's an alignment of grounding. Taurus is very into natural grounding. 16 of Taurus. Laura Branigan from the 80s, 52. Eric Burden, 41. Andy Bell from Erasure, 1964. Adam Duritz, another 64 Jupiter Taurus. Adam Yauch from the Beastie Boys, another 64. Lots of 64s and lots of 50s. Neil Peart, the late Neil Peart was the drummer for the rock group Rush, probably arguably one of the best drummers to ever live. And he was also an amazing songwriter, and he wrote a lot of sci-fi inspired lyrics. He had Jupiter at 20 of Taurus. And here's an interesting thing. The French presidential election from 1988, it was on May 8th, 1988, occurred at 14 degrees of Taurus. It was conjunct the sun at the time, because that was in Taurus time. It was square the moon, and it was square the midheaven. So I didn't go into too much detail when I was researching those elections from France, but that's a lot of fixity there. A lot of fixity. And another thing with Jupiter and Taurus is, so Jupiter is swift. So when Jupiter makes changes with its energy, it's usually swift, because that's a reference to the fire sign of Sagittarius. But Taurus slows it down a little bit, and Taurus solidifies it. So an election like that would have a lot of fixity, and anything positive or negative that came from it would be most likely lasting because of the fixity. Here's another point about Jupiter. There's an actress named Ana de Armas. If the Jupiter in Taurus conjuncts a personal planet, so if the person has Jupiter in Taurus, like Ana does, she's born on April 30th, 1988. It's conjunct her sun. So she has a 12-degree Jupiter Taurus, but it's also conjunct her sun. And if you look her up, Ana de Armas, she was in a movie called Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves. She's a very big actress right now. But what an amazing beauty. And so the Jupiter in Taurus amplifies the Taurus qualities, but very much so when it hits another planet in the person's natal chart. The sun, if it were the moon, that would be great for music as well, or it would be really good of working with women. And it's definitely beauty, because Taurus is Venus. I think she also has Libra there too, so she has a lot of Venus. So we're here we are. We're at the 8:30 halfway mark here, and I know again I apologize for all this, but I wanted to mention all these different celebrities, because a lot of times when astrologers are talking, and I've been watching some podcasts and live streams from astrologers to get ideas, but also to learn from them, because there's different styles and different techniques. Men and women of different ages have different perspectives, and that's a great thing to hear from different generations. Astrologers in their 20s and 30s, and then 40s and 50s, or 60s and 70s. Those different generations. A generational perspective has a lot to do with it, and that's really, really awesome. But one thing I noticed is on some of the podcasts I've heard, astrologers, and I hope I don't do this, I think I do sometimes, but I try not to, is to deliver the information in such a cerebral way that the average person, the mundane average person, even with a working knowledge of astrology, doesn't understand at all what we're talking about. And I've watched some amazing astrologers that have written books, and I'll watch their live stream or podcast, and I'm pretty well versed on astrology, and I'm kind of like, okay, I have no idea. Or that's just not my forte. Astrologers usually have certain fortes, certain niches in the branch of astrology that they use, and certain things that they can zoom in on in the chart or the transits that can help provide answers and help provide those puzzle pieces. And that's really what it's about. But it's really important with all this. I give all this different information to show that I didn't realize, like I'm sure there's plenty of actors or politicians that have Jupiter in Taurus, but I don't know why when I was researching it this week, why did I find so many musicians and singers with Jupiter in Taurus? I would think it would be more Mercury in Taurus for the singing, obviously Sun in Taurus, but it's just amazing to me. But again, the Jupiter in Taurus is wonderful, is going to be wonderful this year for Capricorn planets, because it's a natural trine. And here's another thing. So all on the wheel, all the planets have degrees. And like I said in the beginning, some astrologers are more, shall we say, more anal about the degrees than others. I'm sort of in the middle. Degrees do matter, but it's a blend. But when I look at Jupiter and Taurus, and then I look at Capricorn planets or Virgo planets, which also trines, even if the degrees don't match up exactly, that's called an orb. Most astrologers call that an orb. That's just a level, a certain amount of degrees, could be 3 degrees, 5 degrees, 7 degrees, that is allowed in the calculation. So it can be either close enough to where it's conjunct. And conjunction means emphasis. But the trine is just ease and flow. And for Jupiter Taurus, it's trines the Capricorn planet just by sign naturally, which is really good. And it trines Virgo planets by sign naturally, which is a great thing. The trines create a sort of a flow and an ease. It's not always easy with a trine. Trines can make things happen in your chart. They can help propel you to do certain things, and it can give you more opportunities or easier opportunities. But you still have to take the opportunity, and then you still have to follow through on certain things. So it's not always a given. But let's get back to Capricorn. Here I have, now, if you're a sun in Capricorn, you most likely, your rising sign, if you know your rising sign, your ascendant is probably different. You could be a double Cap. You could be a sun in Cap with Cap rising, but most likely you're not. Most likely you're a sun in Capricorn or a moon in Capricorn, and then your rising is different. So this applies. If you look at a lot of the astrologers are doing predictions for 2024 and insights, and they'll say, okay, we're going to look for Capricorn risings. We're going to tell you how the planets hit in each house. And then we're going to look at your sun and moons kind of secondarily. That's how most astrologers are doing it. So here we can talk about Capricorn rising people, which is the first house. So Jupiter Taurus, which we've been talking about, is in the 5th house for Capricorn people, which is just really, really cool. Leo is a different sign than Capricorn, and it just gives off a different vibe, a different energy. The 5th house is fun. The 5th house is proud because it's a Leo house. It's a fixed house, or what's called succedent. It's a succedent house, which relates to the fixed signs. So the Capricorn energy of the Capricorn rising with Jupiter and Taurus transiting the 5th can make good lasting changes there, and positive with the 5th house energy. Saturn, which is in Pisces right now, which Capricorn is ruled by, the transiting Capricorn planets are ruled by Saturn and Pisces right now, which can be a little melancholy, a little heavy. That's transiting in the 3rd house of environment. So again, these are for Capricorn rising people. And then Uranus and Taurus, that's also transiting in the 5th house of children and entertainment. Neptune is in Pisces. Again, 3rd house like Saturn. That can fog things up quite a bit. 3rd house is siblings, neighbors, local environment, short trips. Neptune is sort of deceptive, or can be. And with Pisces, whoa, that's the sole ruler there. Neptune is comfortable in Pisces, and it's in transiting the 3rd there. So Pluto in Capricorn, which is one of the heaviest transits we've had for a long, long time. Pluto is forever. It's transiting, obviously, in the 1st house, because if you have Capricorn rising, it would be conjuncting your ascendant, your 1st house, which is very intense. So for Capricorn rising people, even people that have Capricorn on the 12th house, which is kind of hidden, the hidden house of secrets, Pluto's been hitting that. And Pluto is just pure, it's just pure power. That's Pluto. I mean, Pluto is, there's no other way. Pluto rules Scorpio. It's a Scorpio planet. It's transformation. And in Capricorn, it's restructuring. You know, a lot of astrologers are talking about the money system, the financial system, potential collapse, but it's also restructuring. Look at all the restructuring of all the governments on these different levels around the world, different countries. Major reconstruction, if you will, with Pluto in the 1st house, which is ego, and it's going to go into Aquarius on January 20th. So Pluto is going to enter Aquarius on January 20th, 2024, and then that's going to enter the 2nd house of Capricorn rising people, of values, self-esteem. That's the Taurus house, and so that's interesting. That'll be it's a little tie-in. It's the natural Taurus house. It's a little tie-in to Jupiter in Taurus, which is the transit. But it could transform 2nd house of values, possessions. And I think a big thing that's going to happen for Capricorn rising, and this will also be, eventually this will be for Aquarius rising people too, and it will be for Aquarius planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars especially, the personal planets, is the 2nd house of values. I kind of see that as, my sense is, so Pluto in Capricorn does not play. It does not play around at all. If Pluto were in a different sign, you know, if it were in Pisces or Gemini, when it was been way in the past, you know, it's different. But we talked about the seriousness of Capricorn. And Aquarius is also, even though Aquarius is an air sign, Aquarius shares actually some traits with Capricorn. And Aquarius can be quite serious and opinionated, like Capricorn, and kind of stubborn as well. So this is very serious, going from the first house to the second house. And I think it's just accountability. I think it's an opportunity for all of us to kind of be accountable for our actions and kind of what we're sending out to the universe. That's kind of what I see. I mean, Capricorn is all about lessons. Saturn, the timekeeper, is all about lessons. Sometimes the lessons are small and sometimes they're tougher. And so I think it's just accountability, and it's coming to terms with what we're holding on to in terms of our emotional possessions as well, like our ways of thinking, but our emotional possessions. We could be holding on to people. We could be holding on to loved ones that have passed. We could be holding on to pets, right? Anything that is possessive or possession, that's second house. But it's mostly values and accountability. And another thing I see is Jupiter in Taurus that's definitely a money. Taurus is money, or for the most part it is. When it's connected to Jupiter, it's a magnification, right? It can be a bundle of money, but it could also be an abundance or overspending. So natal Jupiter Taurus people would be either very good with money, have a natural sense of money, or they could be really, really good at overspending it, and possibly saving it. The other planets in Taurus would most likely be better at restraint, at holding it, like a Sun in Taurus, or a Venus in Taurus, or maybe a Mars in Taurus, or people with Taurus house, second house planets in the second house in your natal chart, which is the Taurus house. But Jupiter is money. So going into the second house for Capricorn rising, and then for when it goes into Aquarius, it's definitely a time to look at your finances. I mean, this goes for all the signs, but of course, Capricorn and Aquarius hit at different points depending on everyone's specific chart. It hits in different houses and then makes different alignments and configurations. But that's a very interesting thing, going in from the first to the second. So this is, and you know, with interest rates going up and everything so expensive, this is a good time for everyone to kind of retool your finances and think about overspending and think about value. Like, you know, we all splurge in certain ways, but when there's Taurus there, Taurus likes value. Capricorn likes value. Capricorn and Taurus, those are long game signs, right? Long game, not short-term superficial gains, long-term gains. So using that earthy energy for the long-term planning is really, really good, especially for Capricorn and Taurus planets. That's a really, really good thing. And I also wanted to show, so tonight's transits, you know, tonight's chart, if you will. That's the wheel. It says tropical, Placidus. I had someone ask me what house system I'm using the other day, and it's tropical, geocentric, tropical, Placidus. So a lot of people still use this. Some people don't. Some people don't feel it is as accurate. But I like to use New York Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. I tend to use that. If I don't have an exact time for something, generally astrologers will use 12 p.m. because just that's like a midpoint. But this is tonight's chart for 8 p.m., which is so cool. And what I love, and I think this is probably why I'm really enjoying this right now, I'm really loving, I don't know if you could see that over here, but look at all this Leo. Leo rising, the moon in Leo conjunct Leo rising, conjunct the ascendant. So, I mean, imagine if you were seeing a concert or a theatrical show tonight with the moon conjunct the ascendant. It's absolutely ideal. And that changes up. That's changing the vibe up of all this heavy earthy energy a lot with the fire here, with the Leo Leo is fun. Leo can be a little proud, a little haughty, but one thing Leo usually always is fun. And then, of course, we have all this Sag here. We have all this Sagittarius still. So Sun's in Capricorn, and when we have the Mars in Sagittarius, it's getting to a later point in Sag. Be careful with accidents. Mars in Sagittarius is very restless. It's a fire sign. I would love to do a poll of people that drive fast on the highway, and I'd love to see their Mars placements, because the way people are driving, people are stressed. People are really stressed. So protect yourself, and it's amazing. But the Mars in Sag can be a little risk taking. Mercury's in Sag, that's retrograde. That's our thinking. That's also can be a little cloudy, especially since it's retrograde. But this is so cool. Venus just went into Sagittarius. Here it's at 1 degree 26. So Venus went from Scorpio to Sag. So you're hearing a lot of astrologers talk about the Venus in Sag. Now Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So anywhere Taurus and Libra is in this chart, Taurus is up here, Libra's down here on the 3rd house. It's ruled by Venus and Sag. So Venus and Sagittarius, it's the love nature. So when you place Sagittarius in Venus, Venus doesn't like to be tied down. So the Sag energy is very sincere. It's warm, very direct. It can be very exuberant. But there's something about the Sag energy for Venus, especially, that does not like to be tied down. Venus and Sag can commit and can be very single-minded about things. So this is a good opportunity to try different things. And in your love life, if you have one or don't, this is very, very interesting. And of course, it would be good to know where Venus, the Venus transit hits in your chart. That would be really, really good to know. If it happens in tonight's chart, a baby would have it in the 4th house of home. But if it hits in your 5th house, the 7th house is one-on-one relationships. If it was the 10th house, it would be work or career, that sort of thing. You know, it's going to create a desire or urge to explore. Anywhere Sag is exploration. So it's a good time to meet new people, be social. When Venus was in Scorpio, you know, Scorpio is so interesting. I got to do a live stream just on Scorpio, because and you guys and gals, let me know in the comments if you see this at a later point. Let me know if you want me to do a live stream just on Scorpio, because astrologers can talk about Scorpio forever. It just seems like one of those signs that you could just go on and on about. But when Venus was in Scorpio, generally speaking, that wasn't well placed, or isn't well placed. Being ruled by Pluto, it's kind of stormy in a sense. So Venus here is ruled by Jupiter. And then, of course, that's ruled by the Jupiter and Taurus. It goes right back to the Jupiter and Taurus for expansion. So I think people have to kind of, if this is anywhere in your chart, if this conjuncts any Sag or Taurus planets, you'd have to watch the spending, watch the eating, watch the overindulging, expanding waistlines, shrinking bank accounts, that sort of thing. Could definitely do that. This is also interesting. The Jupiter and Taurus is, even though it's expansive with good times and money, it's cautious. So it's gone direct, so it's moving forward now. It's a little more transparent, but it is cautious, and it can relate to public deals. Martin Luther King had this near this degree. MLK had this, and Bruce Lee also had a fixed star near this degree of Hamal or Hamel, which is interesting, because it can create public deals with money, but it can also bring some trouble there from what I've read. So again, you have to take those kinds of things with a grain of salt, and it's all a blend. It's all a blend in the chart. But yeah, these are very, very interesting times that we're living in. And as astrologers, all the astrologers around the world, even using different systems. It's wonderful for all of us to be able to give information. It does not mean we know it all. I don't pretend to know it all. Some astrologers do, some psychics do, some tarots do, some tarot people do. You know, the healing arts, as I like to call it, is there's people that have written books, that have PhDs, that do healing arts. Then there's high school dropouts that haven't had a class, that are all self-made, that are healing arts people. And I've met the whole gamut, and I'm kind of in the middle there. But you can't discount wisdom just based on age or a certain branch of astrology, because if people are doing it right, if people are really concentrating on the right things in their branch of astrology, there's a lot to share. Again, it doesn't mean we know it all, at least I don't. And I'm always learning from other astrologers. I'm always learning from other tarot people. I'm learning from the spiritual light worker people that are all over the internet. You know, people, light workers that are just doing good stuff. You know, there's so much to learn, and we have to constantly keep learning. And that's part of the reason why I want to do these live streams, is because just the very act of me talking about all this stuff has already got the wheels going for stuff that I want to learn that I may not have thought about in a long, long time. And it's interesting. I've been into astrology for at least 30 years, probably more so than that, but just seriously 25 to 30 years. And I've read all sorts of different books, seen all sorts of different astrology videos and blogs and articles. And it's just, it never ceases to amaze me how amazing astrology is. Astrology really is amazing. And I don't say that in a Pollyanna sort of way, that it gives you all the answers and it solves everything and it's magic. It's not magic. Maybe for some people it is, if it's more ceremonial, but it's not magic. But it has elements of magic. It has elements of that aha moments, these little things. So keep in mind, when astrologers, including myself, are talking about all this, you have to take things with a grain of salt. We do have free will. And the more you understand, this is another really important thing, the more you understand your natal chart. So if you haven't had your natal chart read, I could do it for you. You could contact me for a reading. I could also do an email report as well, just a write-up. But if you haven't had your natal chart, if you haven't had your natal chart read, or you haven't had a report done in a long time, if it's been 5, 10, 15 years, you should really, either from myself or another qualified astrologer that you trust, you feel comfortable with, get a write-up, or get even a 10-minute reading, just a fine-tuning, because it's amazing what you forget. I remember I used to go for a lot of psychic readings in my 20s, and those were so fun. And I would say they were about half and half as far as effectiveness. There were a couple men and women there that I just did not feel comfortable with. I didn't think it was accurate. It was kind of all over the place. It was weird. Then there were other instances where they were right on, and they were very, very, very keen. And some of them combined astrology with mediumship and that sort of thing. And then I've had many different astrology readings, tarot readings, and you learn a little bit from each one, even if their ones aren't completely accurate or you don't completely agree with the practitioner. But the more you know, the more you get to know your chart, in your own way, the more you use intuition. Intuition is the key. The more you brain fart, the more you develop it, the more you keep it going, the more you're open to it, the more you're open to sending and receiving messages. Even with, just try that with someone this weekend, with a loved one or a friend or an acquaintance. someone that is open, someone that's open to communication. Consider this, like as astrologers, we look at different arenas of life when someone asks us a question. Someone says, am I compatible with this person? What's my love life like? Oh, my finances are in the toilet. Am I going to make money in the stock market this year? Or, I'm an investor. How am I going to do? Or, I'm a YouTube creator and I have 100,000 followers. What kind of money am I going to make? All that kind of thing. There's so many different ways to look at that. And there are many different points in here that speak to you. So if an astrologer can kind of decode it. It's kind of like a symbolic language. Astrologers can just decode it. And then you can also decode it yourself once you start to read it. Where you might need help is I look at my chart is right here. I look at my natal chart, I don't know, once every 6 months, maybe 6, 7 months, once or twice a year. And yet I know my natal chart by heart. I've had other astrologers read my natal chart. I've had family members give me insight into my natal chart that into astrology. And I still look at it and I'm like, there's always something someone else can point out in my chart, a strength or a weakness that I didn't think of, or I hadn't thought of in years or decades. It's truly, truly amazing. But I want to read another comment. Hold on 1 second. I wanted to read another comment after that Sagittarius Capricorn cusp comment about prophecy. I wanted to read another one. See if I could find it. Still looking. Oh, here's another person. So this is Mossy M Clean 7550. Here she says, so I'm technically born the 29th of December, firmly planting me in the Decan 1 Saturnian group. However, I identify as being cusp of prophecy due to having a natal Sagittarius moon and Jupiter. Jupiter slightly hedging out Saturn as my dominating chart ruler. It's 36% Jupiterian, 34% Saturnian lead. I think that qualifies me because all those same themes describe me inherently well. Well done. And that was a response to the Sagittarius cusp video. That's one of my most popular videos. I might have to dive deeper into that. People seem to really like that. But that's really, really well said. Mossy M Clean 7550. Thank you so much. And if you hear your comment, please comment again and let me know that you heard it. And also let me know what country are you watching from, any of you. That's really interesting to me because last week, where was it? Last week I had the top 3 countries were Indonesia, the United States, and Bangladesh. So those are my top 3 viewing countries as far as the last 30 days of videos, mostly due to the cusp videos. So there's something about the cusp videos that people really, really like. So we're coming up on 9 o'clock. And, Carolyn says, wonderful, Wendell. Thank you. Welcome. Hopefully we'll get more people at some point. This is sort of just practice for me. I'm going through the motions. And I'm going to try to get some more people in here. I know it's hard, different time zones, and also I'm going to try to keep it on Saturdays, but I might also do one in the middle of the week, like a shorter one, or on a Friday, and just talk about maybe like one aspect and do like a 15-minute block or something like that. So thank you, ladies, for hanging out with me, and please tell your family and friends. Please share. I'm a microscopic little channel, 400 subscribers, which is nothing on YouTube, right? but I plan, my goal is I want to hit 1,000, hopefully either by the end of 24 or hopefully most likely by the end of 25. I want to hit 1,000 subscribers, which still isn't that much, but that's my goal. And hopefully in the next season we could get to 500 or so. But I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is Astroscoop Deep Dive Astrology Coaching, where we deep dive astrology coaching into the planets and signs of the zodiac. Boy, I'm getting tired. Woo! But I hope all of you have a wonderful, happy new year to all the signs, but especially Capricorn and Capricorn planets. Stay strong and don't forget to do something light. Lighten up, loosen up, do something silly. Just, shake it out. Thank you so much and have a wonderful new year. And I'll see all of you next week.